Hey, chill seekers and nightmare enthusiasts. I'm Samantha, your guide to the unsettling and the unexplained, and welcome to Chill Terror. This is where we dive deep into the shadowy realms of horror, bringing you a curated collection of stories designed to send shivers down your spine. We'll be exploring everything from creepypastas and urban legends to real life paranormal encounters. Whether you're a seasoned horror veteran or just dipping your toes into the terrifying, we've got something to keep you up at night. So, dim the lights, grab your favorite blanket, and prepare to question everything you thought you knew. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new dose of terror. Welcome to the Chill Terror family, where the scares are always on tap. Thought he'd gone deaf. One moment, music crackled through the speakers. The next, there was nothing but the low hum of the engine and the sound of tires grinding against asphalt. Ty laughed and slapped the dashboard, joking about desert reception. But the silence lingered far too long. It pressed in on them, thick and unnatural, as if something had reached into the truck and turned the sound off by hand. Minutes later, a gas station appeared on the side of the highway, slumped and crooked like it had been abandoned mid-thought. Inside, the air smelled old, dust, oil, and something sour underneath it all. The man behind the counter looked ancient, his skin creased deeply, his eyes sharp and alert. He didn't ask where they were from. He asked where they were going. When Ty mentioned the location near the old land, the man's expression changed instantly. He leaned forward and spoke quietly, carefully, as if afraid the walls might hear. He told them not to answer voices at night, not even if they sounded hurt, not even if they sounded familiar. It listens, he said, and once it knows you, it practices. As they drove away, Ethan glanced in the side mirror and saw the man still watching them, his gaze unblinking. The desert felt wrong the moment they arrived. It wasn't just quiet, it was emptied, hollowed out. No insects buzzed, no birds crossed the sky. Even the wind seemed restrained, whispering low across the rocks like it didn't want to be noticed. Ethan felt watched before he saw anything at all, the sensation crawling slowly up his spine. The cabin sat alone near a dried ravine, its boards gray and warped, its windows dark like blind eyes. Deep gouges scarred the doorframe, long and curved inward, carved deliberately and patiently. Marcus joked about animals, but Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something had stood there for a very long time. As night fell, the fire burned too bright, shadows jumping violently against the trees. Then, without warning, the flames dropped to glowing embers as if the darkness itself had leaned in and exhaled. Footsteps crunched just beyond the firelight, slow, measured, circling. A tall shape moved between the trees, its limbs bending at wrong angles, its movements careful and curious. It stopped, head tilted, listening to their breathing. Then it ran, not away, but around them, fast enough to blur, fast enough to make the fire roar back to life. When it vanished, the silence returned heavier than before. Inside the cabin, the quiet became unbearable. The walls creaked and shifted, wood flexing as if something pressed from within. Near midnight, 3 slow knocks echoed through the room. A woman's voice pleaded from outside, weak and trembling, asking for help. Lena stood before Ethan could stop her. The voice repeated itself, smoother now, and said her name perfectly. The doorknob twisted slowly, wood groaning under steady pressure. When the sound stopped, something outside sighed softly, disappointed. They found the journal the next morning, beneath a loose floorboard. The pages were brittle, stained, the handwriting frantic and uneven. It warned of a thing that copied voices and learned mannerisms by listening. It said the creature could not enter unless invited, but that it was clever enough to trick people into inviting it themselves. One line was underlined again and again until the page nearly tore. Do not answer it. The final entry ended mid-sentence, smeared with blood that had soaked deep into the paper. The day dragged on like an infection that refused to heal. Shadows lingered too long. Sounds echoed where they shouldn't. Ethan noticed footprints circling the cabin. Bare, deep impressions, overlapping their own. Lena begged to leave. Ty argued fear made people see patterns that weren't there. At sunset, he walked into the desert with his camera for one last shot. 10 minutes passed, then 20. When his scream came, it was sharp and terrified, and it ended abruptly, as if someone had placed a hand over his mouth. They found the camera smashed against a rock. The audio still worked. Ty's voice whispered frantically about something standing like him, touching its face, practicing expressions. He said it smiled wrong. In the background, something breathed in perfect rhythm with him. Then it laughed, not loud, not wild, but pleased, learning. That night, the cabin came alive. Scratching dragged across the roof. Fingers traced the windows slowly, stopping just where their faces were. Footsteps moved inside the walls, pausing behind their heads. Ty's voice echoed from the hallway, calm and familiar, asking to be let in. When no one answered, the voice grew cruel, mocking them for hiding. It began listing memories only Ty should know, things only they should know. At dawn, Ethan saw it clearly at the tree line. It wore Ty's skin badly, stretched and sagging. Its smile pulled too far across its face. Its eyes blinked out of sync. It waved. Then it ran toward the cabin, stopping inches from the door, breathing softly against the wood. By the third night, they were breaking. Marcus whispered answers to empty corners. Lena refused to speak at all, terrified her voice would teach it something new. The creature began using Ethan's voice perfectly, repeating his thoughts before he could say them. It knew him now. At 2:17 a.m., Ethan felt breath against his ear. A whisper slid into him like a blade. It told him it wore people until they tore. When he turned, Marcus stood beside his bed, smiling. His jaw unhinged with a wet sound as skin split, and something tall and pale peeled itself out of him, finally done practicing. The ranger report later said the cabin was found empty. 4 sets of footprints led into the desert. One set came back. Blood soaked the floorboards. No bodies were ever found. People near the area still hear voices at night. They say the voices call names softly from the dark, sounding scared, sounding loved, sounding familiar enough to trust. No one admits answering, because everyone knows now. It doesn't need to chase you. It only needs you to answer once.